ask you a quick question. What if the only thing standing in between you and what God promised you was your perspective? What if the only thing that was standing in between the things that God has promised you from the birth of you? There's a story in the Bible of these 12 spies. God promised the children of Israel the land of Canaan. This was a land flowing with milk and honey. So even though they had not overtook the land yet, God had promised them this land. So Moses assigned 12 spies to go out and spy out the land. And 2 of them were named Caleb and Joshua. They get to the land of Canaan. They stay there to spy out the land for 40 days. They are amazed at what they are about to attain. They cannot believe what they are about to attain. Like, they cannot believe, oh my God, look at this land flowing with milk and honey. Like, it has everything they need. Fresh fruit, fresh crops, all of the things. The grapes were so huge, they needed more than one person to carry. Like, it was that bad. And these 12 spies go out there for 40 days. They only had one job, was to spy out the land. Check it out. Walk around the land. Try to see where could we position the men when we fight. Just spy it out. How do they live? And 10 of them ended up coming back reporting, the land is beautiful, Moses. The land is flowing with milk and honey. But we seen these giants, and we look like grasshoppers in their eyes. There's no way we're going to be able to overtake this land, because we look like grasshoppers. And we know we look like grasshoppers in their eyes. They had no proof that these giants seen them as grasshoppers. They thought that these giants seen them as grasshoppers because that's the way they seen themselves. They only had one job, was to spy out the land. And their faith was so pumped until they seen the giants. And they began to compare themselves to the giants. Now, these giants probably were big. They probably were big in size, but could have been weak in strength. But you know what happened? Their perspective of themselves were distorted. You cannot get what God has promised you with a distorted perspective. Something has to shift. Something has to change. Until you see yourself the way God sees you, you will never get the promises that He promised you. All you have to do is go test drive the car. All you have to do is schedule a walk through a house that you know you can't afford yet. All you have to do is go sit and have an appetizer or a glass of water or Sprite at an expensive restaurant that you see yourself eating at one day. All you have to do is go try on the clothes. But because you have a distorted view of yourself, you don't believe that you're worthy. You don't believe that you deserve it. You don't believe that God really says that you can have it, because you don't see yourself the way God sees you. Those 10 spies, because 12 of them went, but only 10 of them had a distorted perspective. Joshua and Caleb seen the same thing, but they said, oh, we can surely take over the land, because they compared their God to the giants. The 10 other spies compared themselves to the giants. They lost perspective of their God. So let me encourage you this week to shift your perspective and to begin practicing seeing yourself and saying to yourself what God says about you, what God says you can have, what God says you can do. That is your word for the day. Until next time, continue to believe, be original, and live your dreams.